He didn't,
Ready?
that's.
5:30, this is regular meeting, board meeting, Tatum ISD, November 22nd. We have a quorum, we led a pledge by Mr. Smith, we led in a prayer by Mr. Skinner.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you tonight for allowing us to come to this meeting and represent our community, our students, and our staff. And Lord, we ask that as we go through this meeting, everything that we do be honorable in your sight. Help us with our decision making and all this week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
First item we have, I believe, are A+ employees. Oh, you gotta ask if anybody signed up.
Already,
Oh, you did? Okay.
we do it.
Oh,
All right, for this 6 weeks, this is actually the first time this year we've gone, and we want to recognize we didn't do it in the first 6 weeks. We usually wait for the second 6 weeks to get school year going. This recipient, she goes above and beyond, and in all capacities, from shelving books in the library to whatever the ask of her. And she was nominated, I want to say, since we started this, probably had the most nominations that we've ever had, on people who were recommending her as an A+ employee, based upon the things being multi-talented and going above and beyond. I've seen a lot of nominations come in, but I want to say this is probably the record of number of people who have requested that she be the A+ employee, which is very positive. And that is Miss Mary Anthony. She's a custodian at the Taylor Middle School, and she does an excellent job for us, and we want to take the time to recognize her for going above and beyond. So we gotta come get a picture, Miss Anthony. So on behalf of Tatum ISD, we'd like to thank you for your service and continue to do and go above and beyond for all that you do. It's not going unnoticed, so continue to be the person that you are. Hold on just a minute. Good. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
You got 5 minutes to speak? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to speak at all. I told her she had, most people speak 5 minutes.
But thank y'all very, very much. I love what I do. I love everything about Tatum Middle School, especially Tatum ISD. It has taken very good care of me and has been very kind to me throughout my employment.
Thank you. Y'all are free to go.
Good.
Thank y'all for coming.
Right.
Yeah, stay dry.
I'll see you at Sunday school, Sunday.
See you, Jackie.
I need a motion to approve the consent item as presented during the regular board meeting on October 10th, 2022, 2022 campus improvement plans, and 2022, 2023 strategic plan as presented.
I make a motion to move.
I have a motion by Ms. Amy, there's a second by Mr. Skinner. Further discussion, all in favor? All opposed? None motion carried.
Mr. President, Board of Trustees, we got our annual bilingual ESL evaluation, and Ms. Sherry Hopkins is going to present this information to us tonight.
All right, so I'll try not to take but just a couple of minutes. You'll notice on here, if you were comparing it to last year, the division of our percentages per campus had very, very little change. As far as TPS, TES, those stayed relatively the same. And we had a slight decrease in our overall ESL population, that's 0.28% in that. So that was nothing significant there. As far as things that I would consider that we need to pay a little bit of closer attention to, we did not have any students that were reclassified this year as far as being able to exit them from the ESL program. I think there's a number of factors that we can attribute that to. COVID probably being one of the most significant. Our students overall are suffering with what we're referring to as COVID loss. And when you take that and you combine it with issues regarding language acquisition skills and reading fluency, I think we just are struggling to see them exit that program. And as much as we want to see them exit the program, it's probably to their benefit that they remain in that program to regain skills and remediate as necessary there. We have had a significant number of teachers that were added to our ESL certified teachers. We went from 19 to 28. So I think that is excellent. And we are seeing those numbers on our ESL waiver are getting us closer and closer to not needing to apply for that ESL waiver. So that would be great as a district to not have to apply for that in the future. So those are things to look at. Testing wise, as far as TELPAS goes, you will see a significant, or you guys may hear about a significant change with testing. In the past, we've always had together handwritten writing samples for all of our students, which is a very labor-intensive process for our teachers, and that will now be included in the online writing portion of the testing. There are some concerns statewide about how the evaluation of that writing sample will be scored, so we'll keep an eye on that and we'll monitor that as we go forward. That's about it.
Thank you. Next item is our District 04. Public hearing on our financial first rating system. So we'll enter into a public hearing. Miles?
All right, so first report, again, this is the 21-22 score based on the 2021 school year. So it's like a year behind. In the first part, it has several indicators. The indicator, we made a perfect score except for one indicator. The one indicator, I think, is indicator 6. If your fund balance drops within 3 years more than 25%, you max out at 89, which we max out at 89 because our fund balance dropped more than 25% in the 3-year period. Now, let me explain why. I think it was November of 2020. Remember, we took some money and assigned it, or really committed for COVID-related expenses and some other things. So that they take that amount out of their fund balance when they calculate this. And so, we definitely have not lost that much fund balance. But when you commit it, they say it's on the books for something else, so I'm not counting it in this first report. So we filled that ceiling. So the max you can get is 89, which is above standard achievement, and that's what we got. So we filled it in there because we assigned that money or committed that money. Now, legislative session's coming up, and if you remember, we did that because there was talk about schools not being able to keep a certain fund balance. And so we wanted to commit that to something to basically keep from having to do something with it, or if they were unsure at the time, there was speculation. Now, they ended up not doing it. But we feel like, Dr. Rich and I talked, we feel like we're going to keep it committed to see how this session goes this summer. And if by the end of the year we feel like it's safe, then we can uncommit it with board action, and the indicator will pass. Any questions about that?
All right, we will now close the public hearing portion of the meeting and continue with the meeting agenda. Mr. Milam, District 04.
All right, so District Goal 4, we highlighted a few things that we wanted to focus on. Some of those would be the budget implementation and ongoing monitoring. We do hire Region 12 to help with running templates and all the school finance side of things, along with the TEA summary finance that we look at. I try to look at it weekly in case there's any big changes. As far as maximizing funding opportunities, that has to do with basically me being trained, and if you'll hit that blue Friday. So a couple of years ago, or a year ago, I think I finished the first part, the CTSBS, that's where I'm at now. So now I'm working on the CTSBO. And I've got 2 more classes to finish that. I just finished one, I think, a couple weeks ago. So I've got 2 more classes to finish up. It's the next level, and then the next level, the biggest level is there at the bottom. I've got a little ways to go there. But that's a training that, you know, slowly and surely getting done. It's not mandatory, just recommended by auditor 3 years ago, please.
Mhm.
All right, so this is investment report. So we'll continue on with that.
Yep.
Okay, so investment report. Obviously, we don't invest in any pools or any kind of thing outside third-party stuff. We basically just have those money markets that are at our bank. Those are the yields. Obviously, they're quite a bit smaller. They're still recovering from COVID. You'll see in July, in August, it started getting, this past July and August, the returns were getting better. And I just stuck October, even though it's not part of that fiscal year. Last month, it jumped up to 2.85. And so that was the interest we got in October for the money market. And the debt service is also a money market. And I summarized the amounts last year, just in interest alone, $62,000. And that's usually a lot more than that, but again, the market's starting to come. And that's our annual investment report.
Any questions? Okay. Mr. Pike, you're up. Your 3-year safety report.
On the 3-year safety report this year, by law, we're required to have an annual audit every 3 years. And of course, this year we had Dr. Quentin Woods, who performed our audit for this particular year. And in doing so, he did a very thorough job. Gave a lot of insightful information on what we need to do and how we need to do it. Of course, those are all recommendations, and we take all those into what we have and moving forward. But I want to kind of make some bullets on, for this particular district, a common theme that we're on pretty much all campuses. And one, rooms that were not being in use to lock them. We have some different empty rooms on various campuses that are unlocked, especially when we're talking about safety now, where an intruder can go in and can hide or possibly. So that was one, making sure that empty rooms and closets and doors are locked. The other one was like storing equipment in secure locations for students not to use for inappropriate use. So let's say like you had janitorial equipment outside, maybe they when the custodian wasn't monitoring it, it was just in the hallway. Kids being kids, sometimes you grab it, you can hit it on the student, but that was a recommendation. That was a common thing of just having those type of things out in the hallway and not being secured by or monitored. The other one was to trash and debris in different areas that we have, especially like at the high school and shop areas. Those were some areas where we have a lot of trash and things that we probably need to go ahead and dispose of and remove. And then also inside some buildings where it's emergency exit signs and different things that for safety. We're here, perfect example of not having it lit, having those lights going through and fixing them. So that was the common theme on a lot of them. And then we talked about the trash, we talked about the secure location, and then too, a lot of like the custodial closets. You got a lot of chemicals in there that, you just don't want any and everybody in there. So going around and making sure that when they leave those areas, they continue to close those janitorial closets, because of some or most of them are equipped with chemical drops where they can put their bottles on and get certain chemicals. So that was the common thing throughout the whole district. There are a lot of other things that are specific to campuses when you go talking about playground equipment and things of that nature. But the majority of them, this was more the common thing. And there's, once again, there are 20 documents from an audit from each campus that was listed. But these are the common things. So we'll have it again in the next 3 years. as we move forward and continue to try to make, the district as safe as possible. Any questions?
Next item is, for action is the, SHAC.
SHAC committee, those members were shown at the last meeting. Those members that were pulled up proposed. They meet annually and they meet probably, I want to say 4 times a year. And they arrange, we're talking about from wellness to immunizations to PE curriculum, a little bit of everything. But with these members, we want to recommend that these members get approved. So they'll serve on the committee for the 22-23 school year. So we can move forward in having members and getting the meetings going.
All right, I need a motion to approve the proposed student health advisory council members for the 2022-2023 as presented.
Mr. President, I so move.
I have a motion by Mr. Williams,
Mr. President, second.
I have a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None. Motion carries.
Next item is, probably back in the fall or in the summertime, students on my student advisory council had to write some things they'd like to see improved with the school district, what they like, what they don't like. And, you know, we're talking about common themes. There were some common themes on a little less than half of the students. And I think I've got 9 students, and it was on mental health. You know, we always think about mental health, you know, with COVID and everything. So it's been in the back of my mind, and I thought, you know, let me go over there and talk to the counselor. So I went over there and talked to the high school counselor, and she informed me, yes, we have a lot of students that go to counseling for mental health reasons. And I thought, well, we need to do something here. And trying to hire a licensed professional counselor, you just can't find those right now. As I say that, we've had an opening at our special education co-op, and we are going to have a recommendation on that for one. But you just can't find LPCs. But there's other positions that could do this job. And so I reached out, or Ms. Sloan reached out for me, 5 organizations. And Community Health Corps was the one that got back with us. And Community Health Corps does see some of our students. I don't know who. I think Mr. Fite asked the counselors for me, and we think there's approximately 40 students that see counselors, mental health counselors. And so they have to leave the school and go to the counselor and then come back. And I just thought, well, if we could just offer it here. Plus, if you have mental health services at the campus, the adults can visit with them, because we might have adults that might need to visit with a counselor. And our school counselors are not qualified for that. It's only K through 12. You cannot speak to adults, counsel adults and everything. And, you know, these are cases where, and we've had students that have had to be, just this year, had to be, I don't want to say sent away, but they had to go to a facility. And that was a mental health counselor that made that determination. And so we are seeing more and more behaviors also that might be where kids need some mental health intervention. And this person would be here in our district, and they can travel to all campuses. And they might even see some of the students that are there already seeing right now. But they could see them on campus, and they would not see them during core classes. It would be during electives, lunch. It might be right after school, where the parent does not have to pick them up, drive them somewhere. There is a Community Health Corps in Carthage. Henderson, Marshall, and Longview. So they were real excited that we were right here in the middle. So we've been in these talks and negotiations, and so tonight I'm asking for permission for this MOU. They are willing to split the cost with us, in which I think is fantastic. I hope we can find somebody by the second semester. That's both of our goals right now. This will go before Community Health Corps board meeting, I think is Thursday, if the board approves tonight. And then Mr. Pike will list the jobs on our website. And even somebody that is trying to become an LPC has to have 3,000 hours. And we're willing to pay you to do your 3,000 hours here. It'll all be under their umbrella. So liability purposes, that was a concern that I had too, because somebody says something and they're not taken serious and they go home and they do that. I don't want the school to be liable either. So they're going to be underneath their umbrella, so to speak. But I just think it's something that we need to offer our students, our faculty, and our community for that matter. But you've got to have a student in the system. Just because what kids are going through nowadays with COVID and being locked up in the house for that long and not being able to, I guess we see it all the time. And when we polled some of the staff, I think there is some staff members that could utilize the services as well as students. And they do bill Medicaid, Medicare, they do insurance. They're also, if someone does not have that, there's some other ways to get the treatment. But they would be housed in the district on the campus, and if something serious arises, they can intervene, even though they don't have permission from parents yet, but they can help us work through this problem, and they'll go, I'm calling the parent, I can get permission and all that. So I think it's a win-win for us. And so I'm asking for that approval tonight. If any questions you have, I might can answer them, I might not be able to.
Will it be the same person all the time, or will they interchange?
It'll be the same person.
And this won't cost the students or our teachers anything.
Well, it'll be filed on their insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever the insurance, in our insurance, we get 8 or 9 counseling visits every year anyway. But students, if there's Medicaid and all that, they'll file on that first and everything. So, we're not going to turn, when I'm trying to get it, we're not going to just turn the blind eye and go, well, you don't have any money. We're not going to help you when you're in a crisis right now.
Right. I think it's brilliant.
So there's just a lot of things kids are going through right now, and we've all seen it. Suicides and everything like that. And I just feel like if we could just do this one thing, it might save one kid. So
How are you going to monitor this person to know that it's effective?
I will not, nobody in the school district will have access to who they see at all. This is between the parent and the counselor and everything. They will be monitoring the person. We're not in control over that person and what they do and what they send them to and all that. We're just providing a facility basically.
So they don't have to leave, making it more convenient.
That's correct.
You said this is an actual real counselor license to counsel.
They've got everything except maybe their 3,000 hours that's
That's what
required.
they're gonna do is get 3,000.
Or it could be a licensed social worker. They're out there. They might be somebody that sees this job posting and goes, okay, I'll license social. It might be an LPC. Instead of that LPC we're recommending tonight, they would have seen this and go, I think I want to do that. So, it might bring in a lot of people. I don't know. I just don't know.
I guess is it sounds like a good idea to me. I think it's a great thing, anything that we could do to help our students in that capacity. I don't know, I guess the hair just kind of stood up on the back of my neck when you mentioned Medicare and being able to file on our insurance, well, Medicare for one. Anytime you give a outside group like that access to, there are people out there that are looking for ways to get on, to milk the Medicare system. And that was the only thing. And I'm not saying they're doing that, I'm just saying, I guess that was the reason for my question, and how are we gonna know if it's effective?
I mean, the only way we would know, I guess, if it's not effective, we started getting phone calls from parents saying the counselor, you know, it's not working out. Can we pick a different counselor or something of that nature?
You get enough of that, you know.
Yeah, we know something's wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not really privy to that due to HIPAA and all that. So I would just pray that, you know, we have somebody, you know, they have somebody overseeing them as well, because they're the one that's liable too,
Well, yeah.
and everything. We're just kind of housing them.
So it'd be like,
Yeah, 'cause they need campus now, go wherever they go, they still have to file or whatever.
Yeah, they do. They do.
because I'm on their website here, and so every town has an office. So instead of them going to this office, they're gonna go to this office on campus.
Correct.
Basically.
If they're students that go to other
Mhm.
mental health services besides it. There's Wellness Point, Hope Road.
Right,
There's a bunch out there, but this is the one I've been able to kind of
yeah,
have that first dialogue. I'd love to have 4 or 5 of them, different groups here, as much as possible. And again, it might be something, and there's a 30-day, we can cancel it, 30 days. We do this and that person just said over there, we don't have any need. But when we supposedly have approximately 40 students,
yeah.
There's
I agree.
actually a need.
there's a need. And if we can help our parents by saying, hey, you know, you might be going to Wellness Point, but hey, we're offering this service now.
Uh-huh.
Try this one out and see.
So do other schools have this? Or,
Not that I'm aware of.
well, hey, I'm all about us doing this, so. I know.
Yeah. Now, they have come in before in other schools and done the counseling.
Uh-huh.
They've allowed that and everything. We've kind of not allowed that just because we couldn't monitor that. Plus, we needed to make sure that, you know, when they're coming, it's not during a English 1, you know, or anything of
Right,
that nature.
exactly.
They'll have access to the student schedules, attendance. They'll have all that access.
A little bit more control.
Yes. And so they'll be able to, and they can train our staff too. They can do trainings for our staff as well. So.
Any other questions?
How long is the agreement to?
It's still 25, but like I said, it's a 30-day cut and dry. We say we don't want the services anymore, or they say it, and everything. And, you know, the pricing is what I'll have, is my recommendation if the board so chooses to approve this. The pricing is next, and I'm asking the board to approve 32.5 because we did not have this in our budget, of course. But the ranges run from 56, 61, and 83. And so we would split that. And we're already, that is for a whole year. So we won't go over anywhere near 32.5. I can tell you that for this year.
Any other questions?
So this goes through the summer too. Right?
Anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Community Health Corps as presented?
I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion by Ms. Amy, have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Skinner. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you.
I'm assuming since y'all passed the motion, I'm going to ask for a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the budget increase of $32,500, function 33 to support the ISD's focus on mental health and well-being for our students and employees as presented?
Mr. President also, so, move.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Smith, that's second.
I'll second it.
Have a second by Ms. Amy. Any further discussion? All opposed? All in favor, I'm sorry. All opposed, none, motion carried. Board now convene in closed meeting to discuss the following items posted on our agenda this evening, as allowed by Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters, and the board would also consider security personnel devices and audits as allowed by the Texas Government Code 551.076. The order will take place in a closed meeting, the action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in the closed meeting will take place after the board reconvenes in open meeting. It is now 6:01.